Before we get with our regularly scheduled podcast, I just wanted to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for listening to the Sunrise Life podcast. I am so grateful every time somebody comments or sends me a DM saying that they love the show. If you would like to help other people find out about the Sunrise Life podcast, it would be immensely helpful if you could subscribe on whatever platform that you regularly listen to Sunrise Life on. And if you could leave a rating, that would make me smile so hard. Thanks for listening, and here's back to your regularly scheduled show. Welcome to Sunrise Life, the podcast where we have deep conversations with fellow freelance models. And today I have Laetitia Channel on the line. Say hello.
Hello.
So happy that we were both able to make this work. I know that you are on the other side of the world. You're in France?
Yes, I'm right now touring in south of France.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so they've got the Olympics happening out there right now. Is that affecting your travels?
Not really. I landed in Marseille yesterday where some of the Olympics are happening, but it didn't affect anything.
That's good. Cool. Yeah, I've been loving watching snippets that I see online from the gymnastics and stuff.
Yeah, there's amazing women, right? They're so powerful.
Oh, yeah. When it comes to the Olympics, the two sports that I enjoy watching the most are the gymnastics and ice skating.
Same.
Yeah. Everything else is like, pretty cool. So for our audience, I would like to hear how you first got into modeling.
Okay, so it came, to be honest, by mistake. It was nothing planned. It's nothing I ever had in my mind. Actually, when I had to take like random pictures at the beach, I always felt really uncomfortable posing. I never knew what to do. And so I started. I had an Instagram account for yoga and fitness where I used to pose also on some photos of my performing acts. When I used to be an artist, I had an aerial hoop act. And one day, one photographer reached out to me to that Instagram account and asked me if I could be interested to do an aerial hoop photo shoot. That for such a long time, he's been looking for a performer which had body abilities and lines like I had. He wanted to do an aerial hoop photo shoot, but it had to be nude.
Okay.
And then he saw within my Instagram that I also did ballet, and he told me that he could also be interested to do some ballet photos, but they would also be nude because he was the fine art nude photographer. And I have looked through his account, and I loved so much his photos. They were so artistic, so aesthetic, powerful. And I thought to myself, I really want to do it. I was also in that time, like probably the best shape of my life physically. And I talked to my dad and I talked to my boyfriend about it and asked them how they would feel. And they both gave me a yes. So yeah, I decided to go ahead and do the photo shoot. That's how it started.
Wow. That's amazing that your dad and your boyfriend were both supportive right away.
Yeah, very. Yeah.
Are you concerned at all when you first started about like having nude images of yourself online?
So yeah, at first when the shoot, the photographer told me that when he would start publish the photo, there would already be other photographer reaching out. But then when I got the photos, I was a bit like anxious posting them. I didn't know what to do with them at first. And finally I decided to start publishing some of them. They were all faceless. So technically you couldn't really know it was me. So the more like body parts, and it was all about the body and line. And when I published them, people just read of them. And I got so amazing feedback. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to keep posting them because people like that. But I had a bit of like, no, from the yoga community, which followed me on that Instagram account. They couldn't understand the nudity. They couldn't understand all that. So I was like, well, I need a new account for that because the yoga people are like not happy. And that's when I decided to open the Laetitia Channel model account, and I split it my yoga and fitness from modeling. And then it was fine. Nobody complained about nudity.
That's good. In the yoga community of people that were giving you a hard time about it, were these any people that you knew in person?
No, they were just those random, the Indian guys, like the yogis from India, which were very conservative and very, but it kind of actually really shocked me because yoga should be about connection with the body and the mind and purity of everything. And actually when you post a nude photo, they got really, they didn't like it. Even though there were some yoga positions in those nude photos. So.
Yeah, that is, I do find it a little bit hypocritical that it is supposed to be about connecting with your true self, but that I find that if somebody has an issue with nudity, it's probably their own insecurities or conditioning and not anything that has to do with you or with yoga, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. I think they have some concerns, but yeah. So I stopped posting nude photos on my yoga account, and then it's fine.
That's great. And then how quickly did your modeling career progress once you started that new Instagram account?
Extremely quick, like so quick. Well, I'm going to say his name. It was Andre Brito from Portugal. And he had an amazing community of fine art photographers following him. So when he started publishing me, all those photographers straight away kind of jumped at me and was like, I want you. So I got a lot of requests straight away, even though I had maybe 9 photos on my Instagram. Yeah, and then it did a bit of a snowball effect because then I started touring a bit the new countries, new cities, and soon another photographer would start publishing. It made, the snowball effect of reaching a new country, a new city. Yeah, it went on really, really fast. There were a lot of photographers.
That's amazing. So before you even got into modeling, you were already an experienced ballerina and aerialist. So you already had a lot of the skills that so many photographers are looking for. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I guess there were a lot of photographers looking for nude ballet. The thing with nude ballet photography is that a lot of really good ballerinas are employed in national theaters and national theater. It's the image of by theater. Even though they could be hired, they can't take those kind of agreements. And the second is like that ballerina, one or the other. So it's not that easy to find a good ballerina that would post nude.
And did you have anything in your career at the time that was affecting your ability to do nude posing, or were you somehow not bound to those types of contracts?
No, I was freelancing as an acrobat and I could do whatever I wanted. That was good.
That's amazing. So you were already freelancing. Had you ever had a job prior to that required you to comply with some kind of schedule?
Well, I freelanced, but in a way, like I was contracted for, let's say, a show. So I was entitled to be every day at the same time at the theater and perform, but in a freelance way, meaning that I was hired as an extra into the show, not like, let's say, like dancers, which are like really contracted by the show. Yeah. So I traveled all over the world as an acrobat, as freelance acrobat.
That's amazing.
Prior to photography.
Most of the people that I've interviewed on the show aren't also ballerinas. There have been a lot of people that I've interviewed that have had experience in dance and in gymnastics, but I've always wondered what the life of a person who does ballet and dance professionally is like. And because the nudity is kind of a stigma, it does make sense that some ballerinas are contracted to not do that kind of photography. But I suppose that does make it a really niche thing.
Yeah, it is a very niche type of photography. And it also has nothing to do, like the real academic ballet posing and the ballet posing for photos are so opposite to each other. It's just, so because you have to kind of do bad ballet to the good ballet photo.
I think I understand
It's so strange, but that's hard. Wrong angle, then turn out your feet in different ways so they look good on the photos, but you would never dance properly that way.
In a way, I can kind of relate to that with yoga because a lot of yoga poses require like balance and you to be standing flat-footed. And there are many times where I've posed for a photographer and they're asking me to stand on a toe instead of flat-footed. And I know that it's wrong. The pose, they like it for the photo, for the line. So I see what you mean.
Yeah. Same with ballet posing. You have to do it wrong.
That's interesting. And there are only a couple other models that I've met in person that do nude modeling. And I've heard from them that there are certain like ways of capturing the ballet poses where if it's not captured at the proper moment for like a jump or a kick, then it looks improper in the photo for the ballet community. Has that affected you?
This is a major point I speak with photographer pre-communication before agreeing even to shoot with photographers is that even the best photographer in the world doesn't have knowledge about ballet. Even really good ballet photographers, some have never done a ballet class. They're just really good at capturing it. But I always tell them, like, I have a special condition when people shoot me that I have to approve all my photos because sadly photographers can't understand what is a good or a bad pose when it comes to ballet. So for branding purpose, I do ask to go through the photos before they are published. So only the proper poses are published because if not, it's out of control. They will publish everything and anything for you. Will look awful.
And has that
surprising sometimes what photographer like, which are like completely not ready, not the end of the pose, not pointed feet, not, and they love it, and you're like, yeah.
So has that interaction caused you any grief in pre-communication or at the shoot?
Well, not at the shoot because I'm always really clear, speak about that prior to the shoot. Yeah, but yes, sometimes some shoots don't happen because of that, but it's completely fine with me. Yeah, I think my branding is more important than a shoot. And having a bad post published, I'm not interested. So
yeah, it makes sense. You're not just bringing posing to the table; you're bringing in a very, very specialized skill, and you don't want to be misrepresented.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I totally resonate with the whole issue of photographers posting photos where you're like, I wasn't ready. That wasn't it. But like, yeah, this is a very common thing where I remember a photographer sent me a photo and I swear I was blinking or something in the photo. And he said, I've never seen you make this facial expression before. And I was like, am I sneezing or blinking? Like, what's going on? That this is, you might think it looks good, but to everybody else, or at least to me, it looks not right.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Do you have an online forum, or do you usually just have these conversations back and forth over email or messenger?
No, I have a full-on contract about that.
That's amazing.
Mm.
So how long ago was it that you started modeling and then started traveling full time?
So the first photo shoot was in June 2018. And then on that time, I was still performing. And I did 5 shows a week. And then on my 2 days off, I would do photos. And I've done that for almost a year and a half. So, yeah, for a year and a half, I had no days off whatsoever.
Wow.
And then the full time, I started like end of 2020. And so now almost 4 years full time.
Wow. So you started traveling at the end of 2020. Was that challenging? Because
No, but I mean, I was already traveling during my days off. Like when I had my days off, I was not shooting locally. I was traveling to those shoots in Europe. But yeah, the longer I did actually once I had vacations from a show and I did a longer, like 2-3 weeks tour in 2019.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like seriously, less than 6 months after I started, I was already able to manage like a 2-3 week tour.
That's amazing.
We had already so much request.
So these days, the scheduling of your trips, how long are you on the road at a time in between being at home?
Yeah, that's something I had to work on, because at first when I got so many of the requests, I got crazy and I went on for like 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and then I burned out when I did that. And now I found a good balance for myself. 3 weeks is the maximum. I don't like to be away from home for more than 3 weeks. And then always having a week home per month. It's like my grounding. I need it to feel human.
That's good. That's good. It's good to know what your limits are. And I've definitely experienced similar. 3 weeks, I feel it to me would still be a really long time to be on the road, though.
Yeah, I like to keep it under 3 weeks.
It's amazing. So as far as places that you've traveled, you mentioned that you've traveled all around Europe. Where else have you traveled?
For photography?
Yeah, for modeling, yeah.
For modeling, I've done a lot of US, and I've done Mexico, and I went to Turkey also, and that's it. The rest was Europe.
Awesome. And you're based in France?
In Spain.
In Spain. Okay, so you're traveling right now.
Yeah, I'm now I left home yesterday, and I'll be back in about 2.5 weeks.
Okay, right on. Awesome. So over the course of your modeling career, I'm sure that you've had some crazy and or interesting experiences. And I ask everybody on the show to share one or more of their crazy stories. What is one of your crazy photo shoot stories? It could be crazy good, crazy bad, funny, interesting. What's something that sticks out in your mind?
I think one photo shoot I can't forget and was so crazy and unique. It was in Switzerland, in a city which is called Ticino, so it got closer to the Italian border. And they have those amazing rock formation with rivers, and really cold water, because the water comes from the mountains. And this photographer booked me for 2 full days, and he had the most crazy idea in mind, which was rigging a silk in front of the waterfall, which he had. I know he grew up in that area, and this waterfall for him was something very special. And he really wanted me to do aerial silk photos in front of that waterfall. But that waterfall was so remote and really, really hard access. He prepared that shoot for like 2 weeks before I arrived. He prepared, he accidentally made a rigging point over the waterfall, in front of the waterfall, like a full-on wire anchored in the rocks. Then he did a special rigging for his camera into the rocks. He rigged flashes in that forest and rocks area. Like, he was there for 2 weeks just bringing stuff and rigging.
Whoa.
And then he bought me those massive fishing boats. And he also had the whole trail prepared for me to be able to walk through it. Like, he added rope. He added plenty of things like to be easier to get to this waterfall. Yeah, it was about a 2-hour walk to get there. And then, yeah, we did the photo shoot. Yeah, he had like any extra. He had like pro photo flashes. He had like Hasselblad camera. Like, it was crazy what he brought there. Like, and every time he had to walk these 2 hours in and out to bring all the equipment.
Wow.
Yeah, and I had to. Well, I walked there once back and forth, but it was crazy, and the photos are crazy good. People think that actually I'm photoshopped behind a waterfall, but it was all real.
Wow.
And then the next day, he brought me to another place, and he had bought this 30-feet fire department ladder, like just for that shoot. He bought that ladder, so I could access to a location, and he rigged me like with a harness and tape, like ropes, and he like crazy rigging just to bring me down to that. It was not accessible in a different way. And there also he had done a whole rigging for his light setup and for his camera setup, had all his tripod rigged into the rocks, and just these photos that have done.
Wow.
It was a lot of logistic from his side. And after the photo shoot was done, he had to unrig everything. So he stayed another 3-4 days just to unrig it.
Wow. That's a lot. And
yeah.
And so did the photos come out how he wanted them to?
Yeah. I only edited 3 though.
Dang. Wow. It's a lot of work for 3 photos. Did he have any assistants?
No, it was just him and me.
Wow.
He was just carrying crazy amount of gear. And
that's a lot of work, but I mean, I admire that dedication. That's very admirable.
It is like, okay, if that's your dream photo, okay, I'm going to make it happen for you. It's like, I don't know any other model that are so experienced to be high on the silk and in this dangerous condition in front of a waterfall. And so I was like, okay, I do it.
Did you feel like there was a lot of pressure on you to get this right?
No, because in that time I was right out of performing, and I was very comfortable on silk and very strong, so I had no problem with climbing up and just being up there to pose.
Wow.
So I was very unique shoot.
That's great. Wow. It's amazing to have that level of skill and strength to be confident in any situation like that. Have you ever been at a shoot where the conditions were too dangerous for you to perform the kind of posing that the photographer wanted?
Yeah, occasionally it happens, like you're outdoor and that. Even I think I had it this morning. It was like, no, like coaches were on a not really even platform and was like pretty close to the ocean. So if I slept, I was on the spot. So,
wow.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Yeah. Or if you're on a cliff edge and the rocks look like they might be unstable.
Yeah.
There's definitely a limit to what I will do when it comes to like the potential for safety, like especially if it's windy and stuff like that.
Yeah, I also have a limit. I have also temperature limit. This is something I can do.
Yeah.
Cold. I want to do it. No, I don't do it. The cold.
Are there like a specific numbers of temperature that you'll let photographers know if it gets below a certain temperature that, you're going to have to call it off?
Yeah, that's also part of my pre-shoot communication. Right? Yeah, I don't know, in Fahrenheit, I think it's 62 Fahrenheit.
Mm-hmm.
17 degrees Celsius. Below that, I know I can't do it because of the not posing, and my pose is my posing is just hard to be mean. So it's better to be away from me when I'm cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to shoot with me if I'm cold.
Especially if it's windy. I want to take a short little break to tell you about Model Society. ModelSociety.com is a website dedicated to featuring figurative fine art photography for models and photographers. What makes them different than other portfolio hosting websites is that some of those other websites will still host kind of tacky photography or exploitative photos. Model Society screens all of their contributors for quality and authenticity. So you only get the best of the best on there. If you're not a photographer or model, you can still enjoy and appreciate Model Society because they also have newsletters and magazines featuring their best work and new articles each week. Check it out, modelsociety.com. I will also include a link to Model Society in the show notes. All right, now back to our show. So there's another question that I like to ask everybody on the show, and I call it the rising phoenix era of your life. Can you describe a situation where you were faced with a challenge that you had to overcome? And it could be related to your modeling or something outside of your modeling if you want.
So actually it happened last year. I had a really bad news from after an X-ray exam. After performing as a professional ballerina and acrobat, I had overused all the cartilage in my left hip, and I had no other solution than have a full hip replacement. And yeah, I was like in tremendous pain. I couldn't walk, couldn't sit, couldn't even clip, no stairs. Anyway, well, not even talking about posing or working out. So I had no choice. I had to go through it. I've done it. And it was just like a huge question tag when I went to the operation. I had no idea what would be my physical range. Of course, the surgeons always give you the more dark options and tell you won't be able to do anything. Wow. So that's just something I had to, go over, and the recovery and the strength training and the music. Very add. I might have all my range back. I'm almost able to do everything I used to do. And then I had to go through recently, and I'm still dealing with it, to be honest.
So how long was your recovery time?
Well, like I said, I'm still going through it.
Yeah.
Technically not still working on strength training, but I had to stop training for a month.
Wow. Damn. So is this something that you were able to plan for, like financially, to be able to take that long of a time where you couldn't travel?
Well, I have to say, like, I have it pretty good on Patreon and OnlyFans. So it didn't affect me too much, and my fans were loyal and kept supporting me. And so this was a good thing. Yeah. Besides not being able to travel.
That's amazing. That's good to have multiple streams of income. And, during the pandemic, my Patreon and OnlyFans definitely kept me afloat too. So that's good.
Same.
Wow. That's amazing. But wow, so young to have a hip replacement. Is it made of titanium?
Yes. But it's a common thing for professional ballerinas. If you go professionally, you kind of know that around that my age, you would have to go through it. It's
Wow. I didn't know that. That's intense. Wow. That
like all my teachers had hip replacement. Oh, yeah.
Do you think you'll have to get your other hip replaced also?
So far, so good. I'm preventing it now that I know what I have to do to prevent. Yeah, I won't have to. I have stopped doing impact movement, so I'm not impacting any more of my other hip due to the protein now. So yeah, I guess maybe I can say that. Yeah.
Wow.
Goal.
So impact, that would be like jumping and stuff like that.
Jumping, running, yeah. So I'm no more jumps on my shoe.
Wow.
Finished. But that's fine. I haven't a lot in my life. I took great jump photos and
Wow. That is insane. I'm still kind of like blown away by, I guess I didn't know that it was common in the ballerina community to have to get a hip replaced at a certain age like that. Do they tell you that when you first get into ballet?
well, you know that your teachers have them. So you're kind of like, okay. Yeah. I mean, they do everything to train you to avoid having it, but after you do the moves, and that's what the moves are.
Yeah.
Doing to your hips, it's just using the cartilage in such a way that it's using twice the speed as a normal person.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are there certain like supplements that you take that like help with cartilage and stuff?
Yeah, I've been taking everything since I'm like 20 years old. And I've been taking, like I said to my surgeon, I have done everything to prevent. So I can't blame myself for not doing it because I take like glucosamine and triplex and collagen and yeah.
Wow. That's great. Well, I'm so glad to hear that the surgery that you had to go through is something that you're able to get back to work on eventually with your modeling. That sounds so intense, but I'm glad that you're working through it and that it's a positive thing for you in the long run.
It is. I've learned a lot through the process, and I also had to, in a way, try to adapt my modeling while I was recovering. So it brought me to do some shoots which I would probably not do. And it also, I had to find new ways to pose. And this was a really interesting process, which I actually enjoyed.
That's really interesting, actually. Can you elaborate on that? Like, what kind of shoots did you accept that you normally wouldn't have accepted in the past?
I started more exploring fashion shoots, which wasn't something which I really had in mind while I was like full on physically healthy. And I loved them. I really, really enjoyed them. It got me out of my comfort zone with my dance and acrobatic posing. I had to, explore new ways to pose for photographers, and actually the photographers really liked shooting that way too. So I kind of started building a new portfolio with fashion because of that situation, and I shot much more portraits too. Yeah, a good process.
That's cool. So there was a silver lining to the cloud.
Yes.
Rad. I wanted to kind of segue a little bit because I saw on your Instagram bio that you have a book and that you have a model course. So you've been working to teach other models? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, actually came kind of organically in the way that a lot of models were watching my Instagram and my work, and a lot of them contacted me in my private messages asking, how do I manage to travel the world this way and to shoot with so many good photographers? How do I handle traveling? How I market myself? How did I manage to grow my Instagram so quickly? the engagements on my posts, like all those questions. So I felt like at the beginning, I kind of just answered to the girls one by one. I tried to help them. But then like last year, when actually had this problem with my hip, I felt like maybe this was the moment for me to start sharing my knowledge and help aspiring models with the industry, with what I've learned through the process, and also an important part of the business, which is online marketing, where I felt like a lot of girls lack knowledge. And in some way, this kind of one of my second passion. I really enjoy marketing and online marketing especially. So I do read a lot about that. I do a lot of research. So kind of on top of the game when it comes to what's happening with this industry too.
Wow.
So yeah, I started creating a course, which is still in process of creation, but at the moment I am helping actually aspiring models, but also models which are already on the market, helping them with, let's say, creating, like optimizing their Instagram account, optimizing their post, their image, their brand image, their websites, also communication with photographers, writing, shooting agreement. Yeah, all the like the business side of the photography.
Wow. That's inspiring. So the moment that you had all that time available after your surgery, you utilized that time not just to diversify your portfolio with different genres, but also to dive into creating this course and train other models in how to do it. I think that is very inspiring, and I'm so glad to learn that you did that. Like sometimes when people have a hardship like that, like, you know, some people could fall into the woe is me or whatever, but you really took that as an opportunity. And like, I mean, do you ever wonder what would have happened if you didn't have to go through that surgery? Like, where would you be now?
I'll probably be where I was. It's doing probably the same type of photos, and that may be so interesting.
Huh.
Yeah, everything happened for a reason. That's what they say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have the course that people can take online, but you also do one-on-one coaching?
Actually, at the moment, the course is, like I said, not yet online because I decided to first work with models one-on-one to really understand what they need, because I had plenty ideas about the online course, but I felt like maybe those were my ideas and maybe they were not exactly fitting the need of the aspiring models. So I'm more in the process now of taking one-on-one calls where I feel like I'm kind of really helping with the issues. And I can see right now there are recurring issues. Which, so I guess like those teams are going to be part of the online course, because I can see some things are just coming back. But yeah, it's very interesting, and I really enjoy sharing my knowledge and seeing how they apply it, it works. So it's gratifying also.
Would you say that marketing and social media is one of the biggest challenges for aspiring models?
It's one of them, but the other one, the huge one, is communication with photographers, because those communications are leading to bookings.
Yeah.
And the process of communication to lead to a booking, there is a kind of a strategy to get there. And they don't really follow the step by step, the right step by step strategy to manage to get bookings. And that's the main problem when girls are like, oh, nobody books me. I don't understand why. Da, da, da. Usually when you go back to the source, the issue is the communication.
Can you summarize in a shorter form than you would normally elaborate on if you were doing a training session with an aspiring model? what sort of things that you would suggest a model might say and what not to say when communicating with a photographer to try and get a booking?
Well, yeah, the big no, which many are doing, is like straight away say, "Hi, I'm coming to your city. This is my fee."
Yeah.
Okay. And then they're expecting to get paid. Where we can't forget that photographers are human, and it's kind of, you need to put on a conversation before speaking about money.
Yes.
Like, yeah, to have what's the artistic vision of the photographer, what speaking about ideas, concept. Well, then when all of that is kind of works from both sides and both sides are on the same page, then you can speak about money.
Yeah.
But the big mistake is usually the cold messages, which are not personalized and straight to my fails the whole artistic process of a photo shoot.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why. Like, nobody wants to get a copy and paste spam message.
Exactly. That's what most are doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it really makes sense that, like, all of these little nuanced things are what leads to a successful career versus a not successful one. So things like treating photographers like humans, it sounds like it should be obvious, but you're right, it's not obvious to everybody.
No, it's not. Apparently.
About how frequent do you do these trainings? Like approximately, like how often? Like, do you have multiple students at a time that you're working with?
Yeah, I have multiple girls at the moment. After all are on different stages. Now I have one girl, for example, we did like a set of like 6 calls, and then so the whole process we go through everything, running, branding, her whole online branding, her social, her posts, and then we going also through the process of monetizing with Patreon and OnlyFans. I'm helping her with all of that, creating tiers and how her tiers could be set up, communications with photographers. Then we went through the whole process of writing her shooting agreement, contracts with photographers. And then a whole section of another call is going to be about traveling, how to organize a trip. Yeah, so the whole process is very interesting. And then going to be also a section about posing. And yeah.
That's awesome. Wow. So you're really helping them go step by step through all of the things that you've already had to learn on your own. That's great.
Yeah.
And you have a book? Are you working on it, or it's out?
Oh, well, I had 4 books in total so far. 4 published. Yeah. Yes. But two of them were limited edition and are already sold out. And one of them is with one photographer and is currently still for sale, but it's not that many copies left. And then one is my baby, how I call it. It's called Timeless. Done it all on my own. It's a 420-page book, which features 86 photographers, black and white only. And yeah, it weighs almost 8 pounds.
Wow.
It's like a nude art Bible type of book. It's massive.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So is the book...
So I produced it, I self-published it, I marketed, shipping it, and all by me.
That's amazing. So did you order a bulk amount of them to be shipped to you, and then you're personally shipping them?
No, I pre-printed all the copies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not a print on demand. I printed in upfront.
That's amazing. That's probably expensive to order that many books with that many pages.
Yeah, it was a big investment, but I had that in mind for a long time. I've done it, and the sales went really well. Actually, I have my last box of it. So,
oh, really? Wow. Is there a reason? is a whole interrupt. Is there a reason that you preferred to do this instead of doing the print to order method?
I had a really good print shop where I live, which I trust. And yeah, I wanted to also support the business in my area and print with them. This was one of the big reasons.
Wow.
And and so far I had no complaints. Everybody loved the quality of the print. It's offset print, really high quality paper. I'm gonna keep them. It's a good print shop.
Awesome. That's way better than utilizing Amazon or some major corporation. I love that.
Yeah.
Do you autograph them?
Yes, there's an option to buy a personalized signed version. Yeah.
Perfect. And that does create a more personal touch than just print to order online, for sure.
That's right.
So with all of your traveling, is it challenging to juggle the calls with the aspiring models as well as the shipping of your book, like in between your travels?
Yeah, well, with the girls, I go like with my schedule. We find a time that works for them and for me.
Yeah.
And then the books, if they need to be personalized, then I always email the person and say, well, I'm currently traveling, so if you want it signed and personalized, you're gonna have to wait until I get home to do it.
Yeah.
Which the usual people understand because they usually know that I have that lifestyle.
Yeah, understandably.
Yeah, that's fine.
Have you ever done annual calendars?
Oh yeah, I did. I do one since 2019.
Oh wow!
Every year. Yeah, I did even 2 years last year.
Oh really?
Yeah, because I had a fun request. I usually do an implied calendar. But then my closer fans requested me to do a more intimate calendar.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, let me try. And I have done 2 versions. I had my implied one and I had my intimate one. And it works pretty well because a lot of people finally got 2 instead of 1.
That's great.
It was a good move. It was a good idea from my fans.
Well, hearing about all of your projects is very inspiring for me. And I'm really glad that I've been able to talk to you about all this because, like, I haven't made an annual calendar since the pandemic. And I've thought about it. And every year I'm like, should I make a calendar? Nah. Because it's a lot of work, but people do.
It is.
Enjoy it.
It is a lot of work.
So
it is, but it's also a way, I find it's a way to keep connected to my community. So every month they have to flip that page and they have me in their home. Yeah, it's a way to have a physical item which you use.
Yes, and it is what
and I like prints. I like prints. I like things to be tangible and printed. So
yeah, that's good. And I mean, photography is not meant to just be on like social media on our phones. Like it makes me sad that a lot of these photos that we make are like reduced to that now.
Yeah, that was the idea of timeless. I got mad with digital, with watching my photo digitally, and that's why I wanted to like print a book.
Good.
A big one. This was the idea. And many people asked if there was a PDF version of it, and I was like, no way. Like that is existing only in a physical way. Take the time with a cup of tea and actually look at touch photos for.
Yes. Yeah. There's something beautiful in that.
And then the format also, like it's not like a fun format.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. As for calendars, since I haven't been making one, my partner and I bought a calendar of another model that's
nice.
Yeah, we did it, and she's up on her wall, and I've never met her in person, but I think about her every day because she's on my wall, and I was like, anybody that buys my calendar is going to think about me every time they look at it. So in that way, it's a really good marketing for like generating fans.
It is. And they like it. The ones which are getting it, every month, they send me photos, they're flipping the page, and yeah, that's cool.
Wow, that inspires me to do one this year. Thank you for that.
Do one.
Okay.
Go for it.
Definitely will. Well, Letitia, it's been really great getting to know you a little bit more over the course of this podcast.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I'll definitely include links to your socials and your website and to where people can sign up for the model training that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you again so much for taking the time to be a part of the podcast. And I will reach out to you shortly after this to follow up.